Hi, I'm Bryan Lincoln. Welcome to my Patreon video feed. In general, I'm going to be giving these videos monthly to my patrons at a certain level. But this is the first one I'm making this way. It's sort of a trial run. I will be releasing it to the general public just to let people know that this kind of video stuff exists. And yeah, that's about it. What I'm going to talk about today is using Convolution Reverb and Reaper. It's a quick, easy first lesson, but at the same time I'll also be showing a little bit about sort of the overall layout of an audio drama production. Okay, so I'm opening up Reaper, and it opens up to the scene that I'm going to show you today. Let me just show, in terms of audio drama, I'm doing a show called Relative Worlds right now. It is 8 scripts long. Each script is 3 acts, and each act is probably 4 or 5 scenes and about 20 minutes to 30 minutes long. If I go to my list of scenes, this is sort of where I am in the production. I have lines from actors all the way into parts of the 6th script at this point in time, and hopefully within the next year everything will be done. We'll see what the timing comes out to, but what I'm going to do is go back to one of the original script, the first script, the 3rd scene. This is not the final version of the scene, but what it'll do is give a sense of like what some of the tools that I use are. You can see there are certain things going on here, like there's a background ambience for this sort of airport sounding place where there's a crowd that's getting riled up. You have, of course, the voice actors.
Captain, there's stunner fire out here. Anything going on?
Okay, and sound effects and stuff like that are around as well. Let me stop selecting only those channels. But you can see if I zoom out here that this is a scene that lasts for 2 minutes, and you can see the amount of work that 2 minutes is in terms of layering all the sounds and effects that are going on. Now, not every scene is this busy. This is sort of in a public place with some action that happens, whereas other scenes might be more of a conversation, and they're much simpler to make, but this is a good example. So I'm going to play it a little bit from the beginning just to give you a sense of what environment I set up here.
Okay, do it again.
Welcome to Mesh Corporation Station, the largest in orbit of Domina. Surface shuttles are available in Section A.
There's a lot of noise in here. Man, this really looks amazing.
Mesh Corporation is pleased to announce a new shipment of bioinert eyeworks. If you've been looking to get wired in but can't seem to get to the top of the list, now may be your chance. Register at any official supplier found throughout the concourse.
Now what?
Okay, so that's kind of how the scene opens up currently. I always reserve the right to shift things around, but I wanted to show 2 examples of this convolution reverb being used. I guess I'll take this line. So this is sort of the concourse voice kind of telling people the news.
Mesh
or whatever.
Corporation is pleased to announce a new shipment of bioinert eyeworks. If you've been looking to get wired in but can't seem to get to the top of the list, now may be your chance. Register at any official supplier found throughout the concourse.
So you get a sense of the space. It's giving you a sense it's a big place, and that sound that you pick is very important. The original voice, if I just turn off the effect of the reverb, is recorded in a studio.
Mesh Corporation is pleased to announce a new shipment of bioinert eyeworks. If you've been looking to get wired in but can't seem to get to the top of the list, now may be your chance. Register at any official supplier found throughout the concourse.
Now you can use all kinds of reverb in order to try to create space. You know, for example, if you just do a standard reverb generator, you're going to get something that's artificially made, but it's calculating as though the sound's bouncing around the room.
Mesh Corporation is pleased to announce a new shipment of bioinert iWorks. If you've been looking to get wired in but can't
So
seem
we
to
can
get
change
to the
things
top
like
of the
room
list,
size.
now may be your chance. Register at any official supplier found throughout the concourse.
Can play around with sort of the size of the room, so the echo or the bounce back of the reverb can be tweaked in a lot of different ways. But what I like to use, rather than using the calculated version, I like to use the measured version, if you want to call it that. So in Reaper, using Reaverb, which is a very nice reverb, free reverb plugin that comes with Reaper, you go to add and file, and you have to have a set of impulses that you find. So every once in a while you can find part of a library is released for free. Sometimes you can look around and find libraries that have permissions for you to be able to use them in a show without being restricted by Creative Commons. I'm sure there are Creative Commons ones out there as well, but so you get this sort of, you can build this list of impulses that you can use, and each one is giving you sort of a different location or a different place in a reverb sense. So the basic way that this works is if you take a really quick sound, actually the real professionals use like a sweep, but if you even use like a clap or a gunshot type sound and record it, you can get the shape of the reverberation. And if you have that signal, of course it's going to be frequency dependent, which is why you want to have the sweep instead of just like a hit for a really nice one. But you can still do it the other way, and so you get these sort of measured responses of the room to a thing, and then if you apply that to every point in your raw audio, you end up getting the effect of that room on whatever your source is. So what I want to do here is just show a couple examples of different ones, like try something like a medium room.
Mesh Corporation is pleased to announce a new shipment of bioinert iWorks. If you've been
Large hall.
Mesh Corporation is pleased to announce a new shipment of bioinert iWorks. If you've been
You can get let's see, small prehistoric cave. That's probably fun.
Mesh Corporation is pleased to announce a new shipment of bioinert iWorks. If you've been
Okay, so that gives you a sense of what some options are for variety. Now the one that I went with, I'll remove that, is actually a PA horn in a hall, which is perfect for what I was looking for. So it gave me this effect, something you might hear over some sort of a intercom system or loudspeaker system in
Mesh Corporation is pleased to announce a new shipment of bioinert iWorks. If you've been looking to get wired in but can't seem to get to the top of the list, now may be your chance. Register at...
Okay. And you can play around with things like the wet signal, like if you want to make it less of a strong effect. The dry signal is your original recording, and the wet is the reverb, so you're kind of combining the two. So if you really lower the wet,
Mesh Corporation is pleased to announce a new shipment
it's
of
much
bioinert
less.
iWorks. If you've been looking to get wired in but can't seem to get to the top of the list, now may be your chance. Register at any official supplier found throughout the concourse.
And you may want to have the wet signal a little low compared to the dry for clarity, for example. You can play with those settings. But so you have your impulse, and you have how the impulse is applied relative to your original. If you take out the original and just go with the wet signal,
Mesh Corporation is pleased to announce a new shipment
It's
of
not
bioinert iWorks. If you've been looking to get wired in but can't seem to get to the top of the list, now may be your chance.
so
Register
here, when I put back the voice, it gets a little bit more in your face. So so that's kind of what the controls are here. So you can get a sense that just one plugin took a studio sounding voice.
Mesh Corporation is pleased to announce a new shipment
gave
of
it voice.
bioinert iWorks. If you've been looking to get wired in but can't seem to get to the top...
Okay, that's Reaverb. It's not groundbreaking or anything like that. One of the other things that I actually use in this scene is this character, Elias. And you can see how he's talking throughout the scene. And you also have this reverb that I have an automation applied where it's on and then, I don't know why it's tweaked like that. Probably should just drop, but anyway, so it goes on to off. So you have this effect that I'm putting. Now the chain on the voice involves certain cleanup, certain equalization, although this isn't, I'll do a whole different one on equalization. This one isn't right. There's a compression step and there's a reverb. And the reverb, in this case, you can see I'm using, there's a free version online called Claustrophobia that was shared, and I'm using something called Iron Bucket too. So it's actually, rather than doing the convolution reverb in a big hall, you're doing it inside of a small space. So the reason is that he's got sort of a suit with a mask on, so you want it to sound like he's inside the mask. So if I go to his lines where it's turned down, that means this wet signal's been turned down. He sounds like this.
Who do you work for? I demand to know.
Kingswood.
Okay, but if I go back to a scene where, or part of the scene where that's on, where he's still got it on, because actually let me, I do a sound, I add the sound effect of him taking it off as an example.
Hold on a moment.
Get out of the way.
Who do you work for? I demand.
So you hear, once I give the sound effect of the thing being sort of opened, you can, you couple that with the effect going away of him being inside of an enclosed space.
Excuse me.
Let go of my brother!
Okay, so if I didn't have that effect going,
Excuse me.
Let go of my brother!
it doesn't sound as contained. So it's a lot of little subtle effects that go on to certain voices in certain scenarios in order to paint a more complete picture. So that's, like I said, this is one scene. It's actually interesting. This is a scene that I decided to extend a little bit at the end. I originally had a version of episode 1 complete, and I ran it through some test audiences, and one scene before this I wanted to replace with a different one that now takes place after this, so I have to add a little setup in there so that the story flows correctly. This is part of the process when getting feedback on a story. So I decided to add to this scene. So this isn't the absolute final version from the show, but it'll be like this and just a little bit more going on at the end. So this is a fairly quick example just showing how reverb within Reaper can be applied to really strong effect. Just make sure you find libraries out there of impulses that you can use, and make sure that they are that you have permission to use them, or if you need to attribute where they came from, make sure you do that. For example, I'll need to put an attribution for the guy who does those claustrophobia effects. That's what he asks for. Most of the other libraries I have are just free to use. And there are more advanced programs that do this kind of stuff where the impulses are built in. So you don't always have to go out onto the internet and build your own library if you do it that way. I plan to at some point, but for now this is what I've been working from. And yeah, that's it. So again, this is the first video I've made for this series, so it's also the only time that it will be done in this location. The Patreon that I'm doing is about my move to Los Angeles, and that's going to be happening in a couple of weeks. And once I'm set up on the other end, I'm going to be doing more of these, trying to sort of catalog some of the how-tos in a sense, and I want that to be available for the people that are backing my big change. So so yeah, I think that's it. Thank you very much.